Hey everybody, it's Evan. I just finished my series on making this card template in Photoshop, and so I want to make one more video of showing you how I put all the info into it and modulate it to make a new card. And there's a download link for this PSD in the description, so if you want to download it, make your own cards, follow along with this, then the link is in the description. So we're going to be taking this template that I made this Vengevine in, and I'm going to be making a Voice of Resurgence. That's the card I picked. So I'll always pull it up in Scryfall and have it off to the side so that I can copy and paste my stuff in when I need it. So first thing I'm going to do is delete my art layers because those are not going to be necessary on our new card. And I usually put in the art last, so I'm just going to modulate the whole frame with no art in it. Mostly because I don't paste the art in until the end, because on frames like this where the text box can get taller or shorter, depending on how much rules text there is, the art is actually going to need to be framed differently. So I only paste the art in after I know how tall the text box is going to be, so that I know like where to frame the art. So to make sure that I don't miss anything when I'm inputting all the info in, I usually do it in an organized manner, like from my bottom layer to my top layer, just so that I know I go through every single layer and I'm not gonna like accidentally forget to change the power and toughness or something like that. So I'll start down here at this rules text folder. I'll open it up and it's very simple in here. I'll just edit the text and paste in the text of the card that I'm making. So now, since this is a modulatable height rules text card, I'm going to have to go and find the other elements that I'll have to drag to make this taller. So in this frame, that is in the color frame folder, I've highlighted all of the layers in red that you'll need to drag. So this one called border move, and then there's also one in, where would it be, in border. So this one called border move. So I'll just hold Control to select this one, and the rules text folder. And now I can just drag them all up to whatever size I need. On this card I didn't actually need it that much higher, so about here will be good. So that's the rules text done. I have this in text mana folder in case you need to make activated abilities or anything, but on this card there are no activated abilities. If you did need to do that, it's built exactly the same way as the top mana symbols that I'm going to show you. So you format them the exact same way. It's just it's horizontal here instead of vertical. And just for the sake of being thorough, I'll show you. Say I wanted to make an activated ability that's 1 red red. I'm going to turn off my mana layers that are mana 4 and mana 5 because I only will need 3 mana symbols here. So I'll go in the first one. I'll turn off any layers that are on here other than this colorless one. And then I'll turn on my number. And I can edit the number to say 1. And then I'll go into mana 2 and mana 3 and make sure that they're both red, or whatever color you need for your activated ability. So that's how you would modulate that if you needed a activated ability or something like that. On this one we don't, so we can skip ahead on that one. Next is the legendary header. If you're making a legendary card, you just turn on this layer, go in here, and adjust the colors how you would need them. It's going to be the same as the other color parts that I'm about to show you, so this one should be easy to figure out if you need to make a legendary card. It's the same as the stuff I'm about to show you. So now we change the actual color of the card. The next folder is color frame bottom. This notch here is actually a separate layer. So if you want to have the notch as a separate color, you could do that. You could also just turn it off entirely if you like how it looks, just being transparent there. But I'm going to keep it on for this one. So the card we are making, again, is green-white. So I'm going to have my color fade from green to white. So to do that, I'll drag green up to the top, turn green on, and then I'll turn my white on and make sure there's no layer masks on them. And then I'll take my layer mask that's split down the middle and I'll put that layer mask on the green layer. So you can't see it as well because I'm doing it on the back one first, but you see it's fading from green on the left to white on the right. It'll be more clear. I'll show you on the next folder, this one called Color Frame. It's exactly the same thing. So we take green, put white below it, and then drag up this layer mask that's split down the middle. And now we have the green fading on the left to the white on the right. And the way I've set this up, on the layer mask, white means that's where it's on, black means that's where it's off. So for the layer mask, how I've set it up, the ones on the green, it's turned on the left and off on the right. So if I want it to be green on the left, I would put the layer mask on the green. Now, if I wanted it to fade from white on the left to green on the right, I just reverse the order, put the layer mask on the white one, and now it's fading the opposite direction. So now I'm done with that layer. I can close that one. And we'll go to mana cost. So this is the actual casting cost of the card. I'm going to need 2 of them. The card is, casting cost is a green and a white. So we'll turn off mana 3. We need to turn mana 1 to green. So I'll just turn on the green layer. And then mana 2 needs to be white. So I'll turn on the white layer. And that's the mana cost finished. Although now you can see that this is all wrong. So I need to go back down to the color frame, go into the folder in the clipping mask called mana cost, and see right now it's set to 3 mana. So I just turn off mana 3, and now the border is appropriately shaped for 2 mana symbols. Now actually on my multicolor cards, I like to have the border at the top and the border around the mana cost be gold. So I've actually added this this layers in the template as well, which is a gold, the same gold overlay that's down here, except that it's cut to be only at the top. So when I turn this on, whatever's below it is still going to be shown down here, but when I turn this on, it's going to make the bar around the title and the mana cost gold, which I personally prefer for multicolor cards. So now we're done with the mana cost as well, so I can go into this border folder and see if there's anything I need to change. In this one, the only one that changes is the artist. So I'll just copy and paste in Winona Nelson, the artist of the art that we're going to use, and now that folder is done as well. So next up is the title bar folder. There's nothing actually in the folder that needs to get changed ever. It's just the actual editable text layer is up here at the top. So I'll just copy and paste my title in, and sometimes if the title's a bit too long, I'll shrink the font size a little bit or make it squish a little bit side to side, something like that. But usually that doesn't come into play. So the next thing is the type bar, and I didn't actually think about this when I picked the card, but Vengevine and Voice of Resurgence are both just creature elemental. So I don't actually have to change anything here, but I'll show you anyway. Say this were an elemental avatar or something like that. Now the type bar is too short, so I have to move that. Now I've highlighted this in blue because this is also a moving element, but it's moving separately of the other stuff. So when this moves, all you have to do is hold shift so that it's stuck to moving horizontally, just perfectly straight. So I hold shift and I can drag it to whatever length I want. But now this thing behind it is at the wrong length. So I have to go and make sure that I grab the other layer that's marked in blue, which is going to be in the color frame folder again. So I'll grab this type bar, see how it moves here. Again, holding shift and dragging to make it wider. So I will select the type bar folder and the other type bar folder and just hold shift and drag them. So now I can make this whatever length I need it to be. So I'd put it there. But the card is just an elemental, so I can delete that and then select both of our layers and drag them back. So now the last folder that we haven't touched yet is the power and toughness box. Pretty simple. We just go in here and put power and toughness 2-2, and now the card is finished. And I usually put my title text layers near the top because I always go from the bottom to the top, so I want my title to be the last thing that I'm copying and pasting in. And the reason I do that is just for convenience, so that the title is the last thing on my clipboard. So when I go to save the file, if I want to name the file like Voice of Resurgence, then the title is already on my clipboard. So when I go to File Save As, then I can just paste, and I already have the title of the card there. So that's why I usually do the title last, and that's why it's in its own, it's outside of all of its folders at the top of the template. So now I need to source my art, so I'll just literally Google Voice of Resurgence art, and then see, we found a good one here. This is, I always look at the resolution because you want to find the highest resolution one available. This one is 1000 by 731. Now that's okay, we could make do with that. Sometimes there are higher resolution arts available that don't come up when you just Google the card name and art. For whatever reason, they just don't come up in Google search immediately. So what I always do is I find the highest resolution art that I can find and then reverse image search. So now I go to find other sizes of this image, all sizes, and see, now we've found one that's 1124 by 821 versus the 1000 by 731 that we found. So this is a little higher quality. So the reverse image search ended up being worth it. So then I'll just copy that in, close my folder, and I'll paste it underneath the folder where everything else is. Now I'll just scale it up and frame it how I want it. And when I'm scaling it up, I'm not worrying about the blank spaces at the top and the bottom because, like I showed in a previous video, we can fill that and make it look nice using a combination of content-aware fill and clone stamp and manual digital painting. So I like the art here, so I'm going to leave it there. And then I'm going to, just to start, content-aware fill and then see if there's any touch-ups that I need to fill these gaps. Now you could select both the top and the bottom at the same time and do one content-aware fill and fill everything at once, but I've found that actually using the content-aware fill tool in smaller sections actually yields better results. So I'm going to do the top and the bottom separately. So then we'll go to Edit Fill, Content-Aware Fill. Okay, and now using AI, it has filled the top with what it thinks should be there. So I'm going to turn my template folder off just so I can see what's actually behind here. And there are some glaring mistakes, like these leaves are pretty obviously cloned from down here. So I'm just going to like cover up a bit, copy these different leaves, and so it's like a little variation from where it was. And then we see this little brown line got duplicated up there. So I'm just going to, and I'm using the clone stamp here. Just with a soft brush, clone stamping stuff over. So now that's not quite as obviously cloned. I'll just touch up a few other things that look a bit obviously copied. And now that looks a bit nicer. So now I'm going to turn this on again to see what it looks like. And now I'm going to go ahead and content-aware fill on the bottom. And the bottom usually doesn't matter as much because it's getting covered by this semi-transparent black text box and all the text. So like, I could leave it like this and it would be fine. No one would notice. And yeah, it is pretty rough down there. It doesn't look amazing if I were to turn all this off, but with this on, I think it looks perfect. It's fine how it is, so I'm not going to go in and change anything. Now it is worth mentioning that I do not have a print bleed on this template, but if you were going to print this, I would recommend modifying the template so that there's a border around the edge where things are extended just in case your card gets miscut. It doesn't look weird. And so when you do have a print bleed, you also need to make sure that your art looks okay and there's not any weird transitions when it gets to the edge of the card. And now that this is all filled in, I'm actually going to adjust it a little bit. It feels like it's a little too low down. So I'm going to put it up there. And this looks pretty good to me. There's not any weird modifications I want to make to this art, like maybe if it was laid out a bit different, I'd make these horns pop out over the title bar, but in this case, I'm not gonna mess with that. So that's just a quick rundown of how I put a card into a template that I've made. Pretty simple on this one. There's not too much weird stuff going on other than finding the correct layers to drag up and down the text box when you have to resize that. But once you get used to it and you remember which folders the layers are in that you need to move, it's pretty simple as long as you just hold shift and drag so that it doesn't slide side to side or anything weird when you're trying to go straight up and down. Hold shift and it works pretty great. So that's how I modulate this template that I've made. Download link will be in the description. If you have any questions about how to work it, if you're trying it out on your own, feel free to leave a comment, pop in my Discord, something like that. I will do my best to answer. And I'm actually going to put this in a zip folder with the fonts that I'm using here so that you can correctly link the fonts so that you don't have to go hunting for these the same fonts on your own. If you're interested in card design, tabletop game design, stick around and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.